And here we go. So settling in, finding an easy way to sit or lie down, whichever way you want to start. Comfortable, supported. Moving everything around so that you lie a little more or sit a little more peacefully. And using those exhales to start to let go. Noticing maybe the thoughts that are circling around. You become aware of them without attaching throughout the practice. It becomes just a little easier, hopefully, to use the breath to quiet the thoughts, to settle the body, and to rest in a stillness, a more peaceful, balanced place. That's my intention to bring to you. What is your intention for coming to practice today? What is your hope for your mind, your body, your spirit? Shortening that to a word or a phrase and placing it in an I am statement. Repeating that softly to yourself a few times as if it were true and already happening. And gently drawing the focus back to your breath. Just watching the natural rhythm of your breath as it draws in through the tip of the nose, fills the thoracic body, and leaves out through the tip of your nose, if possible. One breath following the next with just a gentle pause between the breaths. And maybe scanning the body with the inhales, noticing some tension, and using the exhales to soften and release. Typical places, the eyes, the jaw, the shoulders, the hips. And we bring this awareness into our everyday lives. We pause, we notice, we breathe and soften. Knowing that our issues find their way into our tissues. So that's why we practice a physical yoga, moving our bodies to become aware of where we're gripping and holding and then let it go. Three more rounds of breath, evening out the inhales and exhales to fill the lungs completely. And with your next inhale, maybe the arms circle out, around, and up, and soften there as they settle in the shoulder sockets up overhead. Maybe extending through the fingertips without efforting into the shoulders to straighten a little more into the elbows. Does this feel easeful? How is the breath? Always checking in. And with your next exhale, floating the hands to either side of the hips. And if you're sitting, I'll invite you to come to lie on your back so that, unless it's not possible, and you can let me know that and I can find a way, or I will model sitting in the opening practice. Practicing ahimsa, nonviolence, one of the 8 limbs of yoga. It's always the first one taught. So what does it mean to practice nonviolence? To be kind to yourself, the physical body, and then we move on from there. So with your inhale, we gently allow the arms to come out, around, and up with the breath. And then we soften there with the arms extended. Breathing into the front, back, and side body. And that nice lengthening stretch. Maybe reaching a little further into the right hand. A little deeper opening maybe if that's accessible. And then softening the right side and extending, opening, armpit away from hip, hip away from armpit, reaching through the fingertips on the left. And maybe experimenting with stretching one side and then the other while the spine is resting supported on the floor so that you can feel the opening in the side body. Along the back, along the spine, soften the jaw and the back of the neck. And then come to stillness there and extend into the heels if you haven't already, maybe straightening one leg and then the other. And with your next exhale, float the arms alongside the hips. Point and flex the feet. Experiment. Be curious. What's your body stored today? What can you let go of? Moving slowly with the breath. Maybe making some circles through the ankle if you haven't already. Then reversing those circles. And then fan the toes away from each other and curl them in. Nice. And with your next exhale, the left knee draws into the chest for a hug. Soften through the shoulders. Allow them to rest on the earth. Maybe that means you're not interlacing the fingers over the shin, but in back of the thigh instead. Is there efforting, or does this feel easeful? Maybe bending the right foot and bending the right knee and placing that foot on the earth. Does that feel a little different in the lower back? Maybe not. But it is less pressure on the lower back. Find the breath. With your next inhale, we open up the elbows, allow the knee to float away from the chest. With the exhale, the belly gathers to create space for the thigh to draw in. Inhaling and exhaling. Just exploring range of motion in the hip socket. What do you feel? What do you notice? How does this echo up into the glutes or the back body? Just noticing. Nice. And then coming to stillness there with your next exhale, rooting the sacrum to the earth, the center of the lower back. And with your inhale, extending through the heels, straight up to the ceiling. How does this leg feel in the hip socket? Are you efforting into the back of the knee? Adjust, soften. With your exhale, the belly gathers, the knee draws to the chest, or the thigh to the belly, however you think of it. And with your inhale, it extends to the ceiling. And you're moving slowly and mindfully, using your breath to guide you, exhaling, hugging naturally, your range of motion, inhaling, extending. Slowing it down to move throughout the breath. And the next time you inhale, find stillness in that extended leg. Inhale there, and exhale, lower the leg towards the earth, maybe hovering an inch or two, extended just above, parallel to the floor, straight out of the hip. Keep the breath moving. With your next exhale, hug the knee to the chest. Inhale, extend straight up to the ceiling. Exhale, lower down. For a round of breath there as you hug the pit of the belly in, reach, extend into the heel. Exhale, draw that knee in for a hug. Nice, move it around, make some circles, one direction and then the other. And float that foot to the earth. Take a couple of rounds of breath here. Aware of the left foot rooted to the earth, aware of the sacrum resting Exhale, the pit of the belly, that space below the belly button keeps you rooted. The knee draws in towards, or the thigh draws into the belly, knee to chest. Nice. In clasping the hands either around the shin or the thigh. I forget what I'm doing here now. I'm totally losing my place, sorry. With your inhale, extend into the heel. How does that feel to rest the leg in the hip socket? Do you still have equal weight in both hips? Is the breath still smooth? With your next exhale, the knee draws in. With your inhale, extend the sole of the foot to the ceiling. 2 more rounds like this. Maybe this side's a little different. Not judging, but just being curious about our asymmetry. All right, so next time you inhale, find stillness, and exhale, soften the leg towards the earth. Keep reaching into the heel, hugging the pit of the belly in, hover maybe. And with your next exhale, the knee draws in for a hug. Inhaling, reaching up to the ceiling, exhaling, front ribs, belly gather as the leg slowly lowers and hovers there for a round of breath. So never holding your breath. And with your next exhale, thigh draws in, knee draws in. Last time, inhaling, extending, exhaling, not allowing those front ribs to pop up as we heat up that core body, fire it up, hovering or not, and then exhaling, drawing that thigh in and floating that foot to the, or making some circles, of the knee with the knee to move that leg in the hip socket and reverse the circles. And then float that foot to the earth, walking the feet the width of the mat, and then allowing the knees to fall together, adjusting your feet so they rest naturally, and bringing awareness to the back body, awareness to the breath filling the back of the heart, that space between the shoulder blades. Allowing the muscles between the ribs to expand so that the lungs can fill completely. Maybe you notice the echo of the breath throughout the back body, all the way down into the hips. Moving forward in our practice with kindness, meeting our bodies wherever they are today. Aware of the moment. With your next exhale, we walk the feet back to hips distance. And the knees come up over the hips as if you were sitting in a chair, an invisible chair. Feet are flexed, knees are bent, right angles at hip creases, back of the knees and ankles. And to find an easeful way to come into this pose, the pit of the belly gathers in and up, the core body works to take some of the strain off the legs, working against gravity. We're aware of the natural curve in the lower back and allow for it, not forcing it flat to the earth, but not allowing the front ribs to pop up. And then let go of efforting and find a balance. And with your exhale, both knees float over to the left, about 6 inches or so. Inhale up to center. We're rolling from side to side, exhaling to the right. Maybe floating your arms up into cactus, aware of that opening across the collarbone, softening there, and using the breath to guide you side to side. Moving slowly, mindfully, with intention, purposeful, aware of the muscles as they engage and shift, and the opposite muscles counter with the opening. Nice. The next time you come up to center, find stillness there. Exhale, draw those knees in for a hug. Pause in the stillness. And then softly rock from side to side if that feels good for you. Nice. And find stillness there. And with your inhale, the right arm extends alongside the right ear. And the left leg extends straight out off the hip. Maybe resting on the earth to start with a flexed foot. That right knee can stay extended up over the hips, or the foot can float to the floor. What makes it easy for you to come into this stretch, this lengthening? It's the breath that allows the muscles to soften, to regain their length. To challenge the core, we exhale and hug the ribs towards the earth, the belly in and up, and maybe lengthen as we lift that left leg and reach through the heel. And then reach through the fingertips on the right side. Soften the jaw. Exhale, soften that leg to the floor. Bend the knee, float the foot to meet the right foot. Both feet on the floor, and float that right arm down. Couple of rounds of breath. Let that side go. Keeping the head resting on the floor. Gently tucking the chin towards the notch in the collarbone. Let go of the efforting in the back of the neck. Inhaling the left arm alongside your ear or somewhere else that's comfortable for you. So that maybe the hand rests on the floor. And that takes out the efforting. And inhaling, that right leg extends out onto the floor. If you kept the left foot lifted on the other side, maybe you want to try that on this side. Maybe the left foot rests on the earth, but still we gather the pit of the belly in and up. We hug gently the front ribs towards the earth, and maybe you can lift that right leg and inhale, extend into the heel as you reach through the fingertips without efforting into the shoulders. Breathing here. Left foot, if it's on the floor, access foundation. With your next exhale, the left arm floats down, that right knee bends and the foot floats to the earth, both feet resting on the earth, walking them the width of the mat. Exhaling, both knees float to the side, inhaling up to center and exhaling to the other side. Taking a gentle windshield wiper twist, not forcing anything, just allowing a lengthening through the side body from armpit to hip. Noticing how you feel in the lower back and meeting your body wherever it is today. So moving with awareness, with intention, and doing no harm. Nice, and then floating both knees up to the ceiling, walking the feet back to hip center, and then walking the heels a little closer to the hips, and tucking one shoulder blade a little to the center of the back, closer to the center of the back and away from the ear, and the other shoulder blade tucks under, and the palms face down, arms alongside the hips. And you're gazing up to the ceiling, and the jaw is soft. And you're rooting into the soles of the feet, and the legs become active, and you feel the muscles in the that wrap around the ribs and the belly become active, so that you're able to inhale and lift the hips off the earth and exhale, soften them back down. Any amount. Meet your body, explore, be curious. Maybe you're able to roll up onto the shoulders with your inhale and puff up the heart space towards the room and back of you, and then exhale with control, lowering down one vertebra at a time, coming to rest on the sacrum. Your body, your practice, exploring the front and back body. As you inhale up, the shoulder blades lift as the legs root. As you exhale down, the front body controls and lowers one vertebra at a time. What do you notice without judgment? What is the self-talk like? Can you be kind to yourself? Practicing ahimsa. Using the breath to guide you, to find an easeful way to open up the front body, and a gentle way to come back to rest on the earth. Maybe one more round like this. And then coming to rest, surrendering to the earth. Finding the breath, filling the front and back of the heart space. The earth below you, the vast sky above you, and the wise heart resting between the two. Using your arm as a pillow, rolling over to one side or the other. Pausing here. One knee stacked on top of the other, hips stacked, shoulders stacked. Breath moving into fill the back body, the side body. Aware of the ribs expanding in the side body into the earth. Aware of the shoulders moving away from each other, shoulder blades expanding with the breath. And with the exhale, there's a softening, a release, letting go of anything that doesn't suit you. Fall, a new season, time of change. Just as the trees start to let go of their leaves, so we let go of things that don't suit us. Things that might be causing us harm. Preventing us from the joy of the moment. Using your hands to press the earth away and bring yourself up, and then over to your belly, and coming all the way down to your belly, and maybe you need a blanket under your hips. Moving your body around, your flesh around, so that you can find a comfortable way to rest on your belly. Pausing in crocodile to start, so palms stacked, one on top of the other, and forehead resting. Just finding a release into the earth so that you can slide the shoulder blades down the back and let go. And then find the breath filling the back body. Allow that to happen. And then we're bringing our chin or forehead to our mats. Bringing the arms out into cactus. So stick them up arms and softening there. maybe walking the legs a little bit wider, so they're hip width or wider. Just noticing, how does the lower back feel? Rooting the pubic bone to the earth and activating those legs so that all 10 toes are actively rooting to the earth. And maybe you notice then the legs become active. So the knees lift a little. Remember, active is not efforting. Muscles engaged without becoming rigid. Just to keep the lower back safe. And with your inhale, the heart extends away from the belly, and maybe you find you're already lifted off the earth. And we can use the palms of the hands as a foundation. To inhale, lengthen the sternum away from the belly and lift, resting where you feel comfortable, and exhale, lower down. And with your inhale, we're lengthening the heart away from the belly and coming to lift, keeping that rooting through the tops of the feet and the sacrum. Shouldn't feel any efforting in the lower back. Maybe you're coming up onto the pads of the fingers, sliding the shoulder blades down the back, and inhaling, lifting a little higher. Maybe, how does this feel? With your next exhale, soften down, find crocodile. Stack one hand on top of the other. Allow the heels to soften away from each other. Allow gravity to act on the large muscles on the outside of the legs. So they come a little closer to the earth. And this echoes all the way up into the lower back and allows a softening in the lower back. And then we allow the breath to move into that space. And we notice how we are in the stillness of the pose. Without judgment, we allow the thoughts to float away and bring our focus back to the breath, breathing in and breathing out, restoring us. Nice. So I said core work. Most people think of sit-ups and the front body, but the core are the muscles that support us front and back. And in our life, we know we come more forward than back, right? Sitting, working at computers. So walking the arms back out into cactus, bringing the chin or the forehead to your mat. With your inhale, the shoulders lift away from the earth. We're aware of the shoulder blades becoming active on the back body. We're rooting into the tops of the feet again, allowing the legs to become active. And keeping those muscles engaged without efforting, we inhale, lift through the heart, lengthening it away from the belly. And maybe we can lift the arms in their sockets. Maybe gazing to the mat to take any efforting out of the back of the neck. We breathe here, inhale, and exhale, soften down. Allow the arms to extend alongside the hips, thumbs to the earth, palms facing each other, your thighs. Still active, rooting into the legs and the pubic bone to protect the back. Inhaling, lengthening the heart, lifting the shoulders to the center of the back, gazing to the earth. Maybe you reach through the fingertips to find a little more height, more work in the back body, but maybe that doesn't feel so good for you. You feel compression in the lower back. Are you breathing? There's slight movement with the breath, maybe. You're not rigid. Nice. With your next exhale, lower the arms, turn your head to one side if that feels okay for you. And soften there, let go of the legs, let go of the efforting in the lower back. Choosing how you want to come into this back bend, this work in the back body. We just did a few different ways, right? So bringing the chin or the forehead to the earth, we'll do one more round or not. Maybe you're resting in stillness in crocodile. That was enough for you. First, we set up the foundation through the tops of the feet and the pubic bone. We draw the shoulder blades to the center of the back, reach through the fingertips, and then inhale, lengthen the heart away from the belly, soften the back of the neck, maybe reaching through the fingertips, lifting them from the earth or not. Your practice. With your exhale, turn your head, soften the arms to the floor, land on your mat, head turn to the opposite direction. 2 rounds of breath here. Big inhale, softening exhale. Bending your knees and floating the legs side to side, the lower legs side to side. So a windshield wiper on your belly, right? Just let go of any efforting, tightness in the hips. Nice, and then allow the legs to come back to the earth. Walking the hands underneath your shoulders. Exhale there, root into the hands. Use the core to bring yourself up, not just the arms. Nice, take some hip circles here on all fours. Take the time to pad your knees if that feels better for you. Taking some hip circles, floating the hips in the direction of the heels, out to the side. And then reversing those circles. Nice, and then finding stillness in your tabletop. Find your foundation through the pads of the fingers and the joints at the base of the fingers so that we're not compressing the wrist crease. Maybe it's better for you to come down to forearms, so we still root into those forearms and the pads of the fingers. Sliding the shoulder blades away from the ears, together on the back. And as you root down, you feel the center of the back lift towards the ceiling. The belly hugs in and up to support the lower back. With your exhale, tailbone tucks. With your inhale, tailbone lifts. Rocking the pelvis over the femur bones, starting with pelvic tilts. Pit of the belly hugs in towards the ceiling to create that rounding towards the ceiling, that lift. And then the belly softens towards the thighs, tailbone lifts. Letting go of the tension in the lower back. Honoring your body. Yoga should never hurt, right? Should always move easily with the breath. And then find stillness there. And this time, finding your cat and cow. Exhaling, allowing the back body to lift towards the ceiling, maybe dropping the top of the head. Inhale, tailbone lifts, belly softens, heart reaches between the arms, maybe gently lifting your gaze, maybe not. Exploring the front and back body with the breath. What do you notice? Does this feel different than bridge pose? More accessible? Maybe not. What do you notice? Just being curious, not judging or expecting anything. Maybe you notice there's a place in the back body where the vertebrae move together as one instead of one at a time. That's just the way it is. So meet your body there. Nice. And the next time you inhale, find a straight spine with all its natural curves, still hugging the belly in and up to support, softening the back of the neck so that you're gazing to the floor. On forearms or extended arms, what suits you today? Maybe you have that chair. Take even more pressure off the shoulders as gravity tugs on you. We can still do the same work. We can inhale and extend that right leg back. Curling the toes under and reaching into that heel. Still the foundation is active, so we're not hanging on any joints. And maybe we can lift that leg straight out of the hips so that both hips still face the earth. They're parallel to the earth. Not working into a twist, right? And maybe as you root into the right arm, you can inhale and extend the left. That extension we just took on our backs. Yeah, now we're firing up the core a little more, the back body, the front body. Just keep stable. How does this feel? How's the breath? With your exhale, maybe the knee floats towards the belly, thigh to belly, maybe the elbow comes to meet it. With your inhale, slowly reaching into the heel, extending the hand. Maybe you're working on just moving the leg and not efforting into the shoulders. Let the breath guide you. 2 more rounds like this, or coming to stillness, right? I only offer suggestions. You get to decide what works for you. What are you aware of? Floating that knee back down. Coming up over the knees to stand on your knees. Yeah, and roll through those shoulders. Big circles up to the ears, together on the back, slide them down. And then maybe a few times forward. Inhale the shoulders to the ears, exhale, let them drop. Inhaling up, exhaling, softening, and take a shoulder loop so we draw them up. We slide them together and we soften them down the back. Nice. Inhale, lengthen through the crown of the head as if you could lift the earlobes away from the shoulders. No efforting, smile, soften. Maybe with your next exhale, dip the chin slightly. Let that left ear float to the left shoulder. Ah. Slowly with the breath always so that you find your range of motion. Did you also collapse into that left side? Were you able to keep both sides long? Soften that right shoulder down and isolate the movement to the neck. The ear floating to the shoulder. Yeah, we hold a lot of tension there, right? Soften. Inhale up to center. Let that side go. Find that length through the entire spine, from the tip of the tailbone to the crown of the head. Soften the chin a little to the notch in the collarbone, floating that right ear to the right shoulder, pausing your natural range of motion. Wherever it is, that's where we need it. Maybe this side's a little different. Maybe as you inhale and exhale, you can release a little more, keeping length in both sides of the body. Find an easeful way for you to open and breathe into the left side of the neck, yes. And the top of the shoulders, inhaling back up to center. Ah, a few more shoulder loops. Nice. And then settle there with the shoulders resting down the back together. Inhale, the arms float out, around, and up. Exhale, float them down. Inhaling, lengthening, landing wherever you naturally feel comfortable. Exhale, float it down. Nice. And this time we'll inhale up and exhale, hinge forward, bending at the hips to land on the chair, the floor, or the forearms. Keeping that same work of the shoulders away from the ears, active in back of the heart, and rooting into either the palms of the hands, the lower arms, so that you feel the muscles around the shoulder girdle engaged, right? The entire shoulder girdle, keeping you safe. Inhaling the left leg straight back, curling the toes under, reach into that heel. Breathe, soften where you need to soften. You'll feel you'll feel space to lengthen even deeper sometimes, maybe. Nice. Inhaling, we lift that leg, lifting the back of the thigh to the ceiling. to allow an opening through the front body. Front of the hip, quadriceps, reaching, lengthening. Maybe as you commit to that left forearm or hand, you can inhale the right arm alongside your ear, keeping the gaze to the floor, long spine, no efforting in the back of the neck. Here we go. Exhale, pit of the belly gathers, knee draws in, maybe elbow comes in that direction. They never have to touch. Inhale, extending. We're not compressing heart to belly. We're gathering the pit of the belly up to the ceiling. Keeping that heart lengthened away from the belly. Can you find that balance? Maybe you're just moving the leg, and I shouldn't say just, sorry about that. Maybe that arm comes down for 2 more rounds of exploring core work on this side without expectation or judgment. And then coming into stillness, letting the big toes touch and walking the knees the width of the mat. We inhale and exhale, allow the hips to float in the direction of the heels. We pause there. Inhale, keeping that length of heart away from belly and slowly bowing down to come to rest onto the earth. Maybe hands stack under the forehead, maybe a block comes under the forehead. Forehead, third eye making contact with something, giving the message to the brain, hey, tap into the parasympathetic nervous system, you're safe, you're supported, you're resting on the earth that's always there for you. Breathing into the back body, aware of the vast sky above you. And the wise heart that rests between. With the intention of lengthening from the tip of the tailbone to the crown of the head, of allowing the muscles in the back body to soften and release and regain their natural length. Aware of the thoughts and honoring them and allowing them to float away just for now, using the breath to breathe into the wise heart, restoring the body. Your next exhale, gather the belly. Inhale, back up onto all fours. Maybe you need to move it around a little, let go. We're walking the hands forward, one hand print. So we're preparing for downward dog. Right now you have all these thoughts running into your head. Let it all go and be curious as if this were the first time you're coming into downward dog. So we're rooting into the pads of the fingers and the joints at the base of the fingers and the space between the thumb and the pointer finger. So we're setting ourselves up for non-harming, to be kind to our body. And as you root into the palms of the hands, the arms become active without locking out the elbows. And you feel that all the way up into the shoulder girdle. And then as you exhale, you can reach the hip creases back in the direction of the heels. And you keep lengthening through the side and the back body without the arms popping out of the shoulder sockets. No efforting. And maybe this is where you'll stay. Maybe this is way too much for your shoulders and you're coming up onto the chair on the forearms and reaching those hips back. Maybe even resting the forehead on the chair to exhale and lengthen the lower back, the hips, rather, away from the ribs, to inhale the ribs away from. Maybe you'd like to come into downward facing dog. So we're keeping the work in the arms and the rooting of the palms of the hands. We're exhaling, hugging the belly in and up, lifting the knees And then reaching the hips back as we slowly straighten into the legs, and then we pause, adjust, and bicycle out our dog or walk your dog, bending one knee and then the other, or not. And then maybe coming into stillness in our downward facing dog, taking the pressure out of the palms of the hands, the wrists, and the arms. The work is shared by the core. By reaching the hip creases up to where the wall meets the ceiling, by lengthening through the soles of the feet and rooting the heels down and lifting up through the hips. The core body drawing us up and back out of the hands. Exhale, lower down the knees. Find a child's pose, a child pose that works for you. So maybe you're walking the knees wide. You like to float your belly between the thighs. Or maybe you keep the knees together. Inhale, drape the belly over the thighs. Wherever you are, allow the forehead to meet something. And soften there. Let go. So that the shoulders release, the jaw softens, and the breath moves easily onto the back body. If you chose to keep the thighs together and drape the belly over the thighs, maybe with your next exhale, the pit of the belly gathers and you tip the tailbone towards the heels. What do you notice? Can you feel an opening through the lower back? Always someplace else to explore, somewhere else to go. Each day is different. And we just honor our bodies and meet them wherever they are. With your next inhale, walking up onto all fours, wag your tail, shake your hips, let it all go. Using blocks or a chair, so that you have space to exhale and step one foot forward. To curl the toes under on the other foot so that you can exhale and step that foot forward. And to inhale and come all the way up to stand. Roll through the shoulders, ankles, shake it out, let it go. And then land in your Tadasana at the top of your mat. Maybe the arms are extended with the palms facing forward. Maybe you like to have hands at heart center or one palm on top of the other. Rooting into the circumference of the heels, lengthening up through the crown of the head. Aware of the muscles in the legs hugging to the bone, so that the energy flows up, so that there's a lightness to the thoracic body, so the ribs can lift and the breath can move into that space. So that you can breathe into the space just below the last rib, in alignment with the belly button, and expand and open. Without locking out the knees, without clenching the glutes, bringing weight into the circumference of the heels, straight down. And with your inhale, the arms float out, around, and up. And with your exhale, you swan dive forward maybe, bending at the knees, bending at the hips. With your inhale, floating all the way up. With your exhale, bringing it to the heart center. Inhaling, extending, lengthening. Exhaling, bowing. Parallel to the earth. Inhaling, floating all the way up. Exhale, heart center. Next time we'll pause in that forward fold. Inhaling, finding that length without efforting into the shoulders. Exhaling, hinging forward, softening at the knees. Maybe the hands rest on the top of the thighs. Maybe the chin just dips slightly towards a notch in the collarbone. What do you notice? Keep the legs active, the belly supporting the back as it hugs up, the shoulders lifted from the earth to the center of the back. Nice. Maybe you inhale the arms into cactus. Do you notice any difference here? How's the breath? Is this more of a challenge? Is it easeful? Is it accessible for you? Exhale, root into the feet, gather the belly. Maybe the arms extend alongside the ear. Weight draws back into the hips. Inhale, lengthening the ribs out of the hips. Soften through the shoulders. Exhale, bring weight into the feet. Inhale, come all the way up to stand. Exhale, float the palms to the heart center. Pause there. Check in. Sigh the breath out if you need to. Land on the earth. Lengthen towards the sky. Breathe into the heart space. We'll try one more forward fold like this. Maybe you're going to use that chair as a foundation. Inhaling, we extend the arms out, around, and up. Exhaling, we fold forward, hinging at the hips, softening the knees. Drawing the shoulders together, gathering the belly and the front ribs for support, and letting go of efforting. Maybe we inhale the arms into cactus. Maybe they extend over the head. Maybe we're able to draw the hip creases back, hardly moving. It's subtle, but you feel a deep lengthening and work. Maybe you're backing out of this or softening out of this because you're meeting your body with kindness. Maybe the hands float to the seat of the chair. And you can still get that same work of awareness in the back body. Nice. Exhale, root into the feet. Inhale, hinge up, flat back. Exhale, float to the heart center and pause there. Deep inhale, sigh out the breath with the exhale. Even out the inhales and the exhales. I'm hoping you all have something to use for balance. If not a chair, a wall. I have a windowsill as well. Piece of furniture of some kind. Don't worry about me seeing you. And maybe you'll be able to do this without you seeing me. Just exploring another version of this forward fold. And then offering some balance options. So with your exhale, you're rooting into that foundation through the soles of the feet. With your inhale, you're lengthening through the crown of the head. With your next inhale, the arms extend and float out, around, and up. Maybe they pause here. And with your exhale, you reach the hip creases back, bend the knees, folding forward. Maybe your arms, your hands come to rest on the back of a chair, a windowsill, a wall. And you use that to reach the hip creases back and find a long spine. Maybe you have to adjust your stance. Nice. And then find the support that you need. Allow the weight to shift into or over the left leg so you can slide that right foot back. Maybe you're staying right here, drawing that left hip crease back and in. So we want to stay over that left ankle. Maybe you can flex that right foot and lift it up to the ceiling. Yeah, move slowly, mindfully, soften. Nice. Maybe this is where you're staying. Maybe you're able to lift that left hand. What happens to the front body? Don't let those ribs collapse to the earth. Hug them up, support the back, reach into the heel, lengthen to the fingertips. Float that arm down, float that foot down. Inhale, walk yourself up. Let that go, shake it out. Sigh the breath out. Land in the feet. 2 rounds of breath here. Were you meeting your body with kindness? Were you using the breath to bring awareness to the sensations in the body and honoring them? No judgment, just noticing so that we can come on to the other side, maybe a little different this time. So we're inhaling, allowing those arms to extend out, around, and up. And we're exhaling, hinging forward, maybe finding a place of support on a chair, a piece of furniture, whatever it is. And we hug the belly in and up and the front ribs to the ceiling, and we soften through the shoulders and reach those hip creases back, allowing the weight to shift over that nice, strong, straight right leg without locking out the knee. Drawing that right hip crease back and extending that left leg back. And maybe you can inhale and lift the heel. How does that feel? Both hips face the floor. The knee on that left leg faces the floor, the toes. You can lengthen that right hip crease back. What awareness do you need to make this a little more easeful? Maybe you're lowering the toes back down to the floor. Maybe you're able to inhale and lift that right arm for a couple of rounds of breath. The breath is smooth and even. That's how you know you haven't gone too far. Reach a little more into that heel, straighten through the knee, maybe. Exhale, soften down. Inhale, walk yourself up. Roll through the shoulders, the hips. Let it go. Land in your Tadasana. Sigh the breath out and even out the inhales and the exhales. Making them the same length. Using exhales to let go of any efforting. And we'll float back down to the mat using blocks or the chair if you need it. Inhaling, allowing those arms to float out, around, and up. Exhale, hinging forward, and then we soften the knees. As we inhale there, we find length. As we exhale, we hinge a little closer to the earth, deeply bending the knees so we can find that support to step one knee and then the other back onto the floor. Shaking it out. Then your choice. Would it be kind to your body to work it in downward facing dog? Or would it be kind to come into child pose? Find a way to come into these poses with the breath. Exhaling, curling the toes under, finding the support in the arms and lifting up into a final downward facing dog, or finding knees together or knees apart to float into child pose. Your practice, working downward dog, maybe floating into child pose. What do you need? How's the breath? And then we'll all meet in child pose. Maybe you're not coming all the way to the floor. Maybe it would suit you to sit onto your heels and use the chair to rest. With each exhale, releasing a little bit more of whatever efforting remains in your body. Just let it go. Inhaling yourself up to sit onto your heels, letting the hips come to one side, the heels to the other. Extending the legs straight out in front of you while bent knees. And then roll through the ankles. You're sitting on the sitting bones and lengthening straight up. We won't stay this way for long, and roll. Circle the ankles, the opposite, the feet at the ankles in the opposite direction. Flex and point, let that go. Walk the hands back. Fingertips can face you or turn away from you. You can be up on knuckles, but make sure not to collapse in the wrist. Draw the shoulder blades together. Inhale, lift through the heart. Walk the feet to the width of the mat. Flex them and float the knees from side to side. Never collapsing into the back, keeping that long spine. Allowing the hips to move with the legs. Keeping the upper body, the shoulders relatively still, and twisting from the waist down. Just exploring, curious, and then finding stillness there. And we take one hand in back of the thigh and then the other. We soften the shoulders and lengthen through the crown of the head. Maybe we float the palms open for one final bit of core work. Maybe we float to the top of the sacrum and pause there. Easy inhales and exhales, long spine, heart lifting. Smile. Maybe you carve the belly out, exhaling, rolling down, maybe coming to the elbows, maybe rolling over to one side, and then coming to rest flat onto the earth. Pause there. With your next exhale, draw one knee and then the other in for a hug. Pause. Maybe choosing to rock from side to side, letting the breath guide you. Moving with awareness, meeting the body with kindness. Nice, finding stillness there, allowing the feet to float to the floor. Inhaling, the right leg extends straight up to the ceiling. Keep that foot flexed, rotate the entire leg in the hip socket, knees and toes point out to the side. We can cross that ankle over the thigh and soften that right knee away from you. Keeping weight right in the center of the sacrum, center of the hips. With your, maybe you're staying here, maybe you're walking that left heel a little closer to the sitting bone. Pausing there, scanning the body. Maybe it's in your practice to lift that left foot. Maybe that doesn't feel so good today. Maybe with your exhale, both knees float over to the left for an opening through the right side body. Inhale up to center, landing on the sacrum, not any further than that. Try not to rock onto the right hip, just to bring awareness to the movement. Exhaling over, inhaling up, as if you could stand that right foot up on the floor. Never actually coming to the floor necessarily. All right, what do you notice? What do you feel? Can you allow for a softening? Next time you inhale up, find stillness. Exhale there. Inhale, extend that leg. Get some movement if you need to. And then bend the knee and float that foot to the earth. Inhaling, that left leg extends straight up, finding space in the hip socket, keeping that left foot flexed, rotating the knee, the toe, the entire leg, and then bringing the left ankle to the right thigh. Maybe this side feels different and you just meet it with kindness. Maybe that means you do have space to walk that right heel a little closer to the sitting bone. Maybe not. Maybe you have the space to lift that right foot, still offering that left knee to move away from you. Maybe with your exhale, both knees rock to the right, as if you could stand that left foot up on the floor, the left knee right over the ankle. Inhale up to center, trying not to rock past the sacrum. Exhale over, lengthening from armpit to hip. Without efforting, what do you notice in the back body? Shoulders rest on the earth, breath is smooth. Maybe 2 more rounds like this. Maybe you're coming to stillness. What works for you? And then inhaling up to center, exhale there. Inhale, reach that left leg up to the ceiling, move it around, and then bend the knee, float that foot to the floor. Yogi's choice. Is there another pose that would complete your practice? Would you like to take an inversion? Would you like to do some rolling bridges again? Maybe noticing if the end of practice is different than the beginning of practice. Maybe supported bridge with a block on the lowest height. Maybe bringing it a little higher, and the block is under the sacrum, right? Fused part of the back, not the lumbar spine. Maybe you're staying on that lowest point or resting on the earth and coming into legs up the wall. What do you need to do to complete your practice? Maybe there's something else that would feel good for you that I haven't suggested. And you're taking a few more rounds of breath or so in these poses to explore them, to let go of any remaining tension, following the breath from beginning to end and allowing it to guide you. When you've completed your practice, you're taking any final movement, maybe a final spinal twist, allowing the knees to float to one side, stacked on top of each other, supporting them if you need to with a block or a pillow or a blanket, whatever you have. Pausing here for a few rounds of breath, maybe gazing to the fingertips opposite the knees. And as you gaze up to the ceiling with your inhale, you draw the knees back up with the exhale and allow them to float to the other side. Maybe the prop is a little different on this side, and you're making the pose or allowing the pose to be accessible to your body. And then breathing in the stillness of the pose. Gazing to the fingertips opposite the knees if that suits you. Aware of the body accepting the breath. knowing that it's in those exhales that we soften and release. The inhales that bring us energy, that restore us, and the exhales that let the efforting go. Inhaling, gazing up to the ceiling. Exhaling, knees float back up, maybe giving them one final hug, and then settling into Shavasana. Maybe that means covering up, finding a pillow and placing it under your knees or in back of your head. Coming to rest on the earth in our corpse pose. Legs are resting, hips distance, maybe even a little wider. Arms at the sides and away from the hips. Noticing the shoulder blades and how they rest on the earth. If your palms are facing the earth, can you rotate the arms in their sockets so that the palms face up and maybe you'll notice the shoulder blades rest a little flatter on the earth and the opening across the collarbone deepens. And we breathe into that space below the collarbone without control, just allowing our natural breath, our natural rhythm. Breathing in and breathing out. Allowing the body to absorb the practice. Resting in this restorative pose as we release into the security beneath us, allowing the body to be heavy into the earth, releasing, softening all the muscles. Using the exhales to soften the space between the eyes, allowing the eyes to rest into the back of the head. Forehead melts to the earth and all the muscles surrounding the eyes soften and release. The jaw softens. The tongue softens away from the roof of the mouth and the lips gently meet. And all the muscles in the face melt towards the earth. Keeping the head resting on the back and tucking the chin a little towards the notch in the collarbone to find a little length through the back of the neck and then releasing there. Surrendering. Letting the breath guide you back into the moment, letting go of the thoughts, allowing them to float away, watching the breath from beginning to end, following the breath from the tip of the nose to fill the lungs, and then out through the tip of the nose. Breathing into the heart center. Breathing into the wings of the heart. Is there a wisdom to breathing into the wise heart? To bringing awareness to the earth below you and the sky above you and the wise heart that lies between the two. Is there a wisdom to practicing yoga with ahimsa, with nonviolence? To bringing awareness to the physical practice. To meeting our bodies wherever they are, not forcing. Not judging. Not expecting anything, just allowing. Following the breath from beginning to end. Surrendering to Shavasana. And I'll be here to guide you out. Slowly becoming aware of your body as it rests on the earth. Becoming aware of the sky above you and the space surrounding you. Gently deepening your inhales and exhales. Slowly bringing your body back from stillness with small gentle movements, softly rubbing your thumb against your fingertips, wiggling your toes, maybe slowly turning your head from side to side. And with a deep awakening inhale, maybe extending the arms up overhead, reaching through the toes and the heels. And then floating the arms to a comfortable position as you bend one knee and then the other to step the feet softly onto the earth. Pausing here. Feeling more awake and alert with every inhale. Noticing what your practice has given to you today. Using your arm as a pillow to roll over to one side or the other. As you allow the breath to fill the front and back of the heart space. Bringing to mind the intention you started your practice with. Maybe you'd like to change it. And then repeating it softly to yourself one more time. Keeping the eyes softly closed, we press into the earth and draw ourselves up into a comfortable, easy, seated position. And maybe with your inhale, you extend the arms one more time. And with your exhale, you float the palms together to rest at the heart center. Meeting our lives the way our palms meet, with gentle awareness, resting in the heart. And we lift our hearts, and we bow our heads to honor that perfect light that shines in all of us, that unites us. And I've been taught to bring this practice into my life, to have a steady heart, so that my practice might be of benefit to all beings. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. May they know peace. May they find their freedom. And may all beings walk through the world with ease. Namaste. Thank you for sharing your practice with me.
Thanks, Mary.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well,